two, we are back again with another podcast in the Jankcast, and today we have an interesting roster here for discussing the new format and new ban list that just dropped a few days ago. As you all already know, this man has been here many times, and I am very proud to introduce once again Forbes. How's it going, man?
I'm doing all right.
It's good, it's good.
I'm doing all right.
And then we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, the king of Drytron, who decided to get top 64 at the 250th YCS in Los Angeles. I am proud to introduce Vivek. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Excited to talk about the ban list and the new format.
Yeah, well, we're really glad to have you here discussing this with us. So, honestly, it's going to probably be a really good time. We're going to have, I'm sure, some very interesting opinions. I already know a couple of mine are probably going to be. I'm telling you right now, it's not Cope. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. It's not Cope. But without any further ado, Team Peeporibo is going to start talking about this ban list. All right. Why don't we go ahead and just start with the bans? We had a couple interesting bans. Honestly, I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel the bans on this Forbidden and Limited list was kind of almost like a dream. It was a couple of these hits I actually was surprised to see, because I didn't think they would actually hit these cards. Because I mean, I don't know. I just didn't think, like, a couple of those that I was thinking of was like a Pointer, Branded Expulsion, and Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. I honestly was shocked when I saw those ones. I don't know about you guys. What are your thoughts, Vivek?
Yeah, so for the most part, I'm pretty much on board with the bans. Like, Mind Hacker was one that everybody's been asking for. Really nothing wrong with banning that card. It's
a custom card.
People. Yeah, it's a custom card. I mean, it's a rank 7 Psychic that they released before Cashier. It's like so blatant that they wanted that to be played in that deck, and it banishes face down. But yeah, not having to build your extra decks around that is nice, at least until they release the new rank 8, which does pretty much the same thing. But we'll talk about that later.
That one you can interact with, though, so it's not
as
bad.
But yeah, Cyberstein, I mean, it's seen like mixed play back and forth, but it is just a very broken card. We saw it with being played by Patrick Hoban and some other Super Heavy Samurai lists to summon the Albion Dragon and actually gimmick puppet lock people, which is something that should not be allowed to exist.
I'll be straight. Nothing good ever comes out of Cyberstein. I don't really know why that card came off the list.
Yeah.
Anytime it's used, it's for something to generate.
Yeah, I mean, it's searchable. It's also level 2 for some reason.
Sprite can now gimmick puppet lock you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the Super Heavy Samurai
Fun
Scarecrow,
interactive gameplay. That's what we're looking for, fam.
Yeah.
Oh my
the
God.
Scarecrow was like definitely the most surprising out of them all. I think it was like definitely a bit harsh. I don't think they had to go that far, but at the same time, I have like mixed feelings about it because I don't like what Super Heavy Samurai was doing to the format with people having to main deck Droll, and I just don't like. I know people disagree with this, but I don't really like high hand trap formats, especially when they have like Droll, because you need to have like immediate answers to stop your opponent from setting up. Otherwise, you basically just get FTK'd. I'm a little biased as a Drytron player. I really hate Droll, but I don't think anybody really likes formats.
But Shifter's okay though, right? It's your favorite. It's your favorite hand trap, right?
Sure, buddy, sure. Yeah. We'll talk about Shifter later.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Oh, he will.
Yeah.
All right, Forbes. What about you, man? What are your thoughts on some of the bans here? Like anything that caught you off guard?
Scarecrow was such an overhit. Like they went from, like, the deck's been playable for what, 2 months? 2 months now? And they just
1 month.
killed it so quick. Like, why Scarecrow? You basically took away the only way the deck could actually play past the first turn. They should have just limited, in my opinion at least, they should have limited just Soul Piercer, or Soul Peacemaker as well. Like, Soul Piercer definitely had to be hit. Because now if you put Soul Piercer to 1, the deck now has an actual choke point, right? If you hit it, or you banish it, or whatever, the deck now has to find other ways to play. Well, when you hit Scarecrow, the deck consistently just goes right out the window. Cards that normally aren't a brick are now a brick. Like, you just basically just made the deck back to like a tier 5 deck. Like the deck's like not fast enough anymore in the current format. Other bands, like everything else kind of just fell in order. Like Diablosis, like we all agreed on and on the previous podcast as well, isn't a healthy card by any means. Like that card shouldn't be here. It's a custom card.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely say with regards to the bands, kind of like how I was saying, it's almost like a dream effect in a way. Like, and the reason why I say it like that is because with regards to the ban list, like in previous lists, like probably within the past, I don't know, like couple years, when we get a ban list, Konami just kind of like, we will say like, oh, we want like this, we want A, B, and C hit, and then they just don't do it. It's gone, right? Like, and so
all the other bands made sense, right? Expulsion was something we've been asking for. Like we all agree, like, well, a lot of people would agree, Sanctifier is a little too new to hit, and God forbid they ban Nightmare Puppet just because the one gimmick puppet player off in Germany wants to play gimmick puppets. But like,
dang, I lost my extender.
a point of the Red Lotus kind of made sense because the card's just trap dust shoot, but like,
yeah, I mean,
shooting in a roundabout way.
Yeah, that one made sense. But honestly, I will also say after playing Cash too, like, because I've been playing Cash for since the Santa Clara Regional a couple weeks ago, and I've learned a pointer that is a good card in Cash.
No, it's like going first. It's legit. Like it's like Solemn Judgment on crack because like you get the hand information as well.
Yeah,
and it doesn't just trade one. Like it doesn't just trade one for one. It potentially trades more than that when you know exactly what to interrupt.
It's trap dust shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a strong card, but yeah, that's kind of why, like, with regards to this list, though, like, it's, who was talking about this? It was like, okay, so yeah, so like I said, in the past, like, you know, they've usually hit cards that, you know, and, you know, it does change the format, what cards they would hit, but sometimes it was just like, we would feel like they didn't hit the right cards, we didn't hit the correct cards, and so we feel like it didn't solve the problem, right? And so this was like the first ban list I feel in a while where it's like we were all complaining about like a handful of cards, and then they just did it. It's like
they hit everything.
We got it. We
like,
did it.
This was like you said. This is one of the first ban lists where we're like, oh,
like Diablosis.
This is an actual
yeah, like
good
you know,
ban list.
because people have been saying like Diablosis is a problem and it needs to go. It's finally gone.
And it went. And it's gone. Expulsion is a problem.
Yeah, Expulsion is a problem. Exactly. These cards are problematic cards. Gone. They're like, all right. They're like, say less.
Like some of the limits were a little surprising. Some of the unlimits were a little surprising. But for the most part, like they did their job. Konami hit everything that had to go.
Yeah, honestly, I have to say this is a really good list. I haven't said that I haven't said that about the past few lists we've gotten, but I will say this was a good list. I'm very happy with it, and I'm glad you decided, by the way, Forbes, to mention the limits, because I think it is fair to move on to those. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say about any more of the band cards.
Just one more thing to add. Like when I was thinking about like Super Heavy Samurai losing Scarecrow, my first reaction was like, oh my god, this is like Prank Kids losing Meow Mew. The deck is clearly dead. But like, I guess when you think about it a little more, it's more comparable to like Tyr losing Kit Kalos. Like the deck is like severely kneecapped, but I mean, I think it's like maybe an okay rogue deck. I think people will still like top with it.
It's playable,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's no longer as like you no longer have the main line to go into, and you no longer have as many windows to play through disruptions.
Yeah, you
Which
can
in a
splash
way
it
is
in.
good, because the deck literally before played through literally every single disruption on the planet and still ended up with a really hard to break board.
Yeah.
But now in its current state, yes, it is a lot better, but I'm personally sad because it disables a lot of decks that use Super Heavy as an engine and not as a main thing, which is unfortunate, but
I mean, yeah, like putting it
Gotta
as
pick
an
and choose, I
engine
guess. Honestly,
has some pretty big downsides, but yeah.
yeah. Well, it depends on the deck, right? If you're playing a deck that doesn't care about your freaking back row, then whatever. Like, you're great,
Yeah.
you're fine.
you like Spiral.
Or, my Madman, Karakuri. Hey.
Ooh, okay, that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll have to get a deck profile of that at some point. But
I mean, if you want.
Hey, it sounds like it's janky enough to reach a jank deck list. So I think.
What will you cosplay as this time for the next YCS? You'll like dress up in like a samurai.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not wearing Karakura Samurai. No, I'm not playing that at a YCS. No, right now it's toss up between novels and an absolute abomination that I call Vanquish Ace.
All right. All right, Ace.
All right.
Moving on to the limits. There's a couple interesting limits on here. The big ones for me that I specifically wanted to talk about: Mathematics Circular, Gamma, and Arise Heart. Those three I feel were very big hits for this new format coming in.
Arise Heart doesn't feel like it really does anything.
Which is actually fine, because it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, because it without a Rise Heart, I feel like Cash, that is essentially like unplayable. Like,
Yeah.
and so I feel like at least with one, they kind of have to manage the resources a bit better.
The interesting thing with that is like in the mirror match, it makes a really big difference like having the one versus having, because like that's when they're typically going into like 2 or 3. I mean, I guess going second into them with when you're not playing Cash, it really comes down to the turn 2 for the most part. You either have the out or you don't. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to make a difference that much of the time, but I guess it's better than nothing to have it at 1.
I mean, at the same time though, because it's like with regards to there were times with Kashtira when they would go like double Rise Heart, right? And it's like, well, at that point, it's like a Kaiju just isn't enough, because like you'd have to have lava, you'd have to have the lava golem, you'd have to have the Kurikara, some sort of out that hits multiple targets on the board. And so, but there's a thing with like some decks, they couldn't do it. They wouldn't be able to actually do it, especially with rogue decks. And I know with regards to Kashtira, that was a big thing for decks in this previous format. If you weren't playing something that was basically like at least a top tier deck, like at least like a tier 1.5 or whatever, you were playing anything else considered actual rogue, you either had to be really knowledgeable in that deck to be able to keep up with a Cash matchup, or you probably just lose because you just don't have the resources to out their board. Because on top of that, because other than just a Rise Heart being a walking macro, it also is just a disruption. Also is a really big body, and that's the thing with at least with all the other Kashtira monsters. Is Kashtira that the biggest issue is not really, I don't think, the cards, like the actual card effects, they're not really that bad. It's how big they are.
It's also in tandem with everything.
Yes, because it's how big they are. They are like with most decks, like their starters. Like if you, for example, like just off the top of my head, let's just go with
Sprite,
Pearl, or even Sprite. Yeah, Pearly. Like it's a level 1 like little fairy idiot. Okay.
A little squirrel rat.
It has. I don't even know how much attack it has. I've never cared that much about Pearly to honestly even care about the stats. They're never attacking with. They're never attacking with it, so it doesn't matter because it's so weak. They don't need to worry about it, right? Same thing with Sprite. I think the biggest one is Jet at 1200. Like most people's combo extenders are dinky, whereas with Kashtira, their combo extenders, like their lowest is like 2400. That's pretty big. I mean,
that is big.
Yeah, I'm like, one of their combo starters is literally a 24 or 24 body. That's pretty fierce. It's a pretty big like monster that they have to worry about. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, like with the Rise Heart, yeah, it technically doesn't do anything, but like because they are still able to play it. But the other thing I will say is, especially in the mirror match, as you mentioned, Vivek, the mirror match will be a lot more interesting because if their set of Rise Heart gets banished face down, that I feel like at that point it's basically a wrap. It's like it's whoever can banish whoever's right. It's kind of like in a form of chess. Whoever knocks out that queen first is usually going to have the upper hand. It's going to be a very, very uphill battle.
And at least now they can't mind hacker it away, so...
True, but I mean, they can. But think about
now it's Unicorn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but the thing is, they can still use Unicorn, which is huge.
Unicorn's at 2. Oh,
yeah,
no.
which we'll get to later.
Yeah. The Gamma limit is especially interesting.
Yeah, I actually thought that was interesting as well.
Seeing that they already killed the main deck Gamma was used against, them limiting Gamma felt so sort of like unnecessary.
I don't know. Gamma is a weird one. I mean, trust me, when I talk about... Because one thing we're going to talk about later is, of course, after we talk about the cards that are on the list, I want to talk about how the format's going to shape and like what cards I feel like are going to be really strong. And so I'll get to talking a little bit more about Gamma later, but I will just say Gamma's hit was it was strange, and I'll explain. But like I said, I'll explain it more further once we get closer to the end of the video. But Circular was a big one, which it's funny. Like, it's so weird that like actually I have to say both Circular and Gamma are going to be cards I kind of want to talk more about later once we start talking about how the format's going to shape. But similar to a Rise Heart, though, I will say at least with Circular, I don't really think it's going to change too much. It's like, okay, cool, you have 2 less copies, but I really
you
don't
already
think
have like 12 copies in your deck anyway.
Essentially, yeah. So I don't really think it... I mean, it's still going to be a thing. It's just going to be not as impactful anymore. Because once they use that Circular, it's not like you're going to have it always for the follow-up. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it does make like the search spells like Ashing Silent Mining, like having both that and Gamma at 1, like it makes it like a lot safer to like Ash Silent Mining or Small World even, for example, and they can't really... I don't know if they were playing Desires before, but they can't really do that now. It's a bit risky with 1 Circular.
It is funny because some of the other limits are actually kind of insane. Like Blaster, Blaster isn't really... I don't feel like Blaster will do anything.
I'm still trying to figure out how to break that card. I'm like... I mean, other than... the only deck I can honestly think of that could potentially use Blaster is Dragon Link.
Yeah, no,
like, that's
Dangalong and Dragon Link are literally both... I feel like those are both on limits for Dragon Link to play with.
Oh, yeah. Dangalong, I think, is interesting. I've also heard Dangalong is pretty good in Sword Soul, but I don't play Sword Soul.
No, according to every Sword Soul player I know, the card doesn't actually help them because you have to jump through...
Sometimes it's really good, but it breaks you a lot.
You have to jump through a lot of hoops to make it because it's a level 5.
Yeah, I'm undecided on that one. But like for Blaster, I mean, I didn't play during Dragon Ruler format, so it's like a little harder for me to say, but I read those cards and then I read the Bystials, and I'm like, wow, the Bystials are way better. So like I don't know if you're gonna even bother playing Blaster because it's a pop, right? I mean,
yeah,
okay,
well,
cool.
it's a pop, but yeah, the biggest thing is just back then as well. It's the biggest Dragon Ruler. It's 2800. It's a big body. It recurs every turn. So, and it's rank 7 like fodder. But
I mean, I guess back then that mattered a lot more. But now, I mean,
yeah, not so much now.
Code exists. Yeah.
Delicious Memory getting hit to 1 purely is after the life support now.
Dude, that's a huge hit. I was honestly shocked. It was almost like a preemptive hit.
Honestly, that's 100% a preemptive hit because the stuff they're getting in Dune is insanely good.
Oh no,
Nat Sacred Tree. I mean, I guess.
Honestly, okay. So some people have been like, Natria Sacred Tree, I guess it's just because it's broken because it's not once per turn. But like, which is true. I mean, 100%. But let's be real. That is a Naturia runic hit. It's technically a runic hit, okay? Because it's not like people were playing Naturia really in anything else. So it makes it so then that engine is a lot less consistent. So that way they're not just dumping tons of... they're not basically just getting a free search. Like, because you think about it, though, it's just a one-card search, technically, but it ends up basically turning into almost like kind of like a pot of greed. Essentially, because you're getting 2 cards out of your deck. You're thinning your deck out of cards that are unnecessary. For example, go into a Mole Cricket, and you go Mole Cricket effect to summon Camellia, then use Camellia to get the tree. You just thin 2 cards out of your deck, which means those are 2 less cards that you have to worry about drawing with your Runic Fountain, and that means you have higher chances of drawing Runic spells. So it actually changes a lot, because now they have to fill those extra slots with cards that they can't just get rid of. And so they actually have to...
The hit was fine after... Yeah. I mean, they could ban Naturia Beast as well, but they're going to make... I mean, they made it harder to go into Naturia Beast at least. So
yeah, exactly. Because it was one way that they were able to get into Nat Beast really easily. So...
Really wish they hit the Runics harder, but, we'll talk about that soon. And the semi-limits.
Yeah. Then, let's go to the malicious list, the Destiny Hero malicious list. This one, I actually have to say, was... I at least feel, especially... I kind of want to hear your opinion on this one, Vivek. Herald of Orange Light, because that's technically a boost to Drytron.
technically, but honestly, even when it was at 3, we usually just played 1. So, I mean, it's funny, but like, I guess if we're in a high hand trap format, if people are like playing D shifter more, especially, then that might be a good reason to play 2.
It's a strong hand trap. It's essentially like a gamma in a way, in its own way. It's very strong.
Yeah.
Well, you started on this train.
I predicted it. I did predict it, so I get credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, Herald of Warren's
the deck that made it degenerate is gone, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was way stronger in tier than it was in Drytron or anything else.
Yeah, no, true. Because, I mean, with the Ishizu cards, I mean, it's not like the Ishizu cards are gone, but with them all limited, it's not as prevalent.
You would never play Orange Light in a tier deck because you only have like 4 fairies.
Yeah, now. Yeah, you don't have a ton of targets
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's going to be that impactful of a change, though, to the format. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to see, honestly. Maybe you'll change your tune after we discuss how the format shapes, but we'll see.
Lightning Storm 2. Lightning Storm 2.
That one was interesting.
I'm actually happy about that because one of the decks I play next format means I don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, I feel like it's a weird hit, though, because at the same time, it's also like... I mean, it's technically an out to back row decks, so it's like... It's one of those cards I feel that would keep, like, Labyrinth in check. But, I mean, with how Labyrinth is playing, it's a weird... I don't know how to really explain how Labyrinth is playing with with the furniture builds, right? It's kind of like a weird combo version. It's like a combo deck basically.
It's like Lightning Storm's not even that good against them right now. But.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's kind of a weird hit, but I understand it's a board breaker. But I don't know. It is what it is.
It is far from the best board breaker in the game, though. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people would probably play evenly over Lightning Storm, but depends on the situation and the deck. But yeah. Runic Fountain 2, it means nothing. I don't know if there's anything when you talk about that.
That's probably one of the things that pissed me off most about this list because like,
that was a strange hit, but
I don't know who they're like trying to impress with that. Like what are you doing? Like the only deck that plays 3 is like the pure Runic stun, but like hit the floodgates, not.
I have a theory behind that too, because again, I would like to basically kind of refer back to Naturia Runic with that one, where it's just like because Naturia Runic already ran 2, because they always ran the 1 and then they had the backup in case something happened to the first one.
Sprite also only runs 2.
Correct. Most people who use the Runic cards as an engine, they only run 2 Fountain, right? So I feel like with regards to that one though, it's to make it so then, especially for specifically for Naturia Runic, because that was one of the strongest versions of the Runic deck currently in the format. I feel like it's just so that they're like, oh, well, we lost a tree, let's just throw in a 3rd fountain. It's like, well, we're going to make sure you guys keep it to the number that you were already playing it at. They're trying to force them to play cards. Yeah, in a way to kind of like force them to play certain cards. I know it sounds really stupid, and I could totally be wrong, but it's just the theory behind why I'm like, because I was like, when I saw that too, I was like, why'd you put it to 2? No one plays 3. Like, literally, no one does.
But they do that a lot.
Starter was also sort of a force you to play 2 thing, because most decks that ran Sprite only run like 2. You don't really run 3 starters most of the time.
Fair, yeah, that's fair. So,
and Yasha 2 is funny, though.
I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'm not really sure how I feel about Sky Striker.
Striker players.
I predicted that one too. I mean, it's pretty obvious with the fact that
but I do hate to say it, but it was technically leaked in the new Konami policy, so I'm not that surprised.
What, Engage?
Yeah, they actually were talking about if someone has like, I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about Sky Striker Engage and how someone had like a second copy. And it's in the policy document.
Wait, they added that to the policy? Oh,
yeah, as an example.
Oh, that's funny.
And so, and so everyone was like,
they're
engage the 2, let's go.
They're printing new support for the deck. It sells product.
It's really good support.
Yeah, no.
Some of it is. The other half is kind of bad. But that new Link 2 is really crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy with the new Link 2, but I mean, I don't know. And then, honestly, I guess the last one, which, I don't know, I'm not really sure if it needs much to talk about, but Cashier Unicorn.
Does nothing.
I mean, I guess it reduces the chances of just a cash player being like, "Oh, look, unicorn!" Just slap that on the table. Just, you know, I can tell you, every time I see unicorn in my opening hand or a planet, I'm just like, "All right, we're winning this. We're gonna win this game somehow."
Yeah, but we always have to keep in mind that they're not going from 3 copies to 2. They're going from 7 copies to 6, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
That
pretty much.
doesn't really do
if you include prosperity, it's like, you know, a little bit more than that. Like a little.
Yeah, basically, and that's why I'm just like, with honestly the hit to unicorn, it's like I guess a slight hit on consistency, just so it reduces the amount of times you'll just see it in your actual opening hand. So then that way you're not just always going 1 card combo.
Yeah, but I think they probably should have hit Birth.
No, 100%.
Birth is crazy.
Birth is a strong card.
It feels like they didn't hit cash that much because they want to keep it around.
Yeah. And
I'm glad that they did.
I bet you are.
Oh, I love playing that deck, man. You can rip on me all day long. I don't care. I'm gonna get just like how Christian got roasted for loving tier format. I'm gonna get roasted for loving cash. Okay, I love playing that deck. It's a fun deck, especially once you start to figure everything out. It's really cool.
I ain't scared of it, so whatever.
Alrighty, so the unlims, the unlimiteds a couple were interesting. Multi-roll, I feel like I'm just gonna state this right off the bat. That was a mistake. Why?
Yeah, so I've heard conflicting opinions about whether you play 2 or 3, but you probably play more than 1. So
well, yeah,
because the card's pretty crazy.
From what I understand, it's pretty standard to run 2. But I mean, regardless, like even if they have 3 as like still as an option to be able to run that 3rd one to increase the consistency, because it's such a good card. Honestly, that card it's probably one of the best cards in Sky Striker, like hands down. Honestly,
yeah,
it's bot grade. It's really what it is. It's bot grade.
It's very good. So I don't know. I mean, I understand that because similar to how they brought Engage to 2. I understand. You know, they want to help promote the new support, so that's why they're bringing these cards back. Because if they didn't have these cards, the consistency would be like way worse. You know.
It's also like the most versatile card in the deck because you can like not only use it as a way to like turn off interactivity from your opponent, but also clear your board. Like if you have a nib that's blocking your main monster zone, you can just get rid of it for free, and also they can't respond to your spells for the rest of the turn, which is just stupid. Which also lets them play around Droll if they use it properly. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Another couple interesting ones that at least I personally thought was fun was Spiral, Quick Fix, and Draco Face Off. Those cards have been limited. I mean, Draco Face Off has been limited for a long time. That card got whacked almost immediately when Performance in Pals was full power. Card back at that time was
the good old days.
Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong, that card was extremely strong at that time because that was also during a time period where pendulums weren't forced to be summoned to like the EMZ or zones that Link monsters point to, just because Link monsters didn't exist. You literally just you could just pendulum summon as many cards as you want from your extra deck there was like no limitations to this. And so for a card that essentially puts 1 in your extra deck already and can potentially set up a scale is very, very strong, at least back then. Now, I don't think it's that strong. I think this is a good hit, and I actually am kind of excited because honestly, Draco Slayers, other than in tier format for like a little bit, kind of got a little shafted from on release because they just weren't able to keep up with tier. And then similar case with full power cash, they just, because of the macro effect, they just were not able to essentially maintain a good board and game state.
Can't we just see Luster Pendulum go up to like $30 again?
Jeez, yeah. But I mean, it'll be cool to see actually how this increases the consistency of the deck, because it allows you to basically pull out any of the Draco Slayer pendulums. So you can honestly dig for all the cards that you need now, and it's really easy to do so. So, and then the only other one I really kind of wanted to talk a lot about was Quick Fix, just because that card has been limited for a while, just because Spiral is an insane deck. Quick Fix is literally the fix that deck needed, hands down. I don't know how Quick Fix is going to adjust in this format. I know it was really good like a few years back, but Like, I remember when Spiral was just like an OTK slash FTK deck, basically, because they open up the right cards.
It'll be interesting. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. And honestly, I think by bringing Quick Fix back, in a way, it'll kind of help keep Super Heavy around without having the Scarecrow. So
maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know.
honestly, no idea. But Steam the Cloak, I don't think that's a problem. I don't know about you
Hulk
guys.
isn't around anymore.
Nobody was playing it at 1, so
No more Hulk, so it
Nobody's gonna
shouldn't
play
be
it
that
at
big of an issue. I really find it hard to think. I find it hard to imagine that it'll be an issue.
Sidle Starling, I feel like, is kind of a similar case to Steam the Cloak. It was semi-limited to see how it worked at 2. Nobody played it. Didn't do anything. I think it's fine at 3.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's probably fine, but I just don't like the fact that it's like a non-once per turn search. It's just like kind of annoying.
As long as you have what
I'm being
you need,
honest.
just keep going.
It is like a bit of a broken card.
Birdman and Samsara Lotus.
Yep.
Oh, yikes.
FTK card funny.
I mean, dude, I hate Bish Balkan, and that card is still legal. I don't even want to know what people decide to come up with those two stupid cards.
I'm pretty sure Bish Balkan dies to an Ash, doesn't it? Or am I thinking wrong?
Most FTKs do, but
Yeah.
still FTKs.
They are still
Right.
FTKs, yeah.
Yeah, because think about it. It's a first turn kill. If you don't draw the Ash, well then, how do you think that game's gonna end? Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about with regards to the ban list, though, because we basically already went through all the changes, at least.
Yeah, the ban list itself, I think we've gone over pretty much everything there is to go over. So
Honestly, I think like I said, it's a good list. I am honestly very happy with it. It's very refreshing because it seems like they basically kind of listened to the player base to a degree.
They listened to us for once.
I know. I mean, at least that's what it seems like. I mean, they
Yeah.
they may not have, but
They probably
it's
already
just, it
had
seems
like
that way.
some plans for it regardless, but yeah.
Yeah, no.
Unless we wanted to go into cards that should be banned, but that would be a much longer discussion.
D-shifter for Vivek.
What, man,
Yeah.
bro. Why are you hating on my boy, Dimensional Shifter, man? What did he do to you, man? He didn't do nothing to you.
I think damage should be at the same that D-shifter's at.
That 3?
No,
That's
it's 0.
honestly.
I mean, like, what I'm saying is, if D-shifter's going to be legal, I don't think putting Gamma to 1 is wise. But
That I absolutely 100% agree with, actually. The reason why is on my awesome list of good cards for this format, I hate to be the bearer of bad news to anyone who doesn't like Dimension Shifter, but it is probably going to be one of the strongest hand traps in this upcoming format. And the reason why I say that is coming from a Cybers player, because I like my Code Talkers, but all Cybers decks, including MathMech, they require the graveyard to do a full combo. And with Dimension Shifter at 3 in the format, one of the ways that the deck that MathMech would out the Dimension Shifter is by using Ciphering Gamma, because they can use that to basically turn off the Dimension Shifter, and that way they're able to play and they won't just lose the game. So the problem is with Gamma at 1, and also having Called by the Grave at 1. Now there are only 2 cards you can play in your deck that can actually stop or out Shifter.
Wait, if you called by the shifter... Oh, I know, they can't use the same effect this turn.
so that's on your turn, yeah.
Yes, and it goes for a full cycle of turns, so it would still be fine. But yeah, the thing is though, with now you only have 2 options, and if you want to count the driver, I guess that's technically 3, but you don't want to draw that one.
Yeah, no, I've been saying this for quite a while, but I think Shifter should have been banned quite a while ago.
Just ban driver.
Like ban driver, nice. Like one of the other big issues with that is that, like, when you're playing against Cash or like a deck that can like make use of the card and it doesn't affect them in any way, it makes it not only hard to go second against them, but also to go first against them, because then when they de-shifter you, then you skip your turn and you didn't even get really a chance to do anything besides Baguska and Prey. Like, it's just very stupid. That card should not exist.
And then you get
in the
OTK
game.
because they have the Kaiju.
Yeah,
it's honestly on almost an equivalent level, basically, as Droll. It's
way better than Droll. I would argue it's way better.
Well, the reason why, like, what I'm saying
cards.
with regards to that is, like, the reason why I'm saying it's equivalent to, like, an equivalent level to Droll is it is a floodgate hand trap that basically, if used against certain matchups, it just ends the turn. It just completely stops them from going into like a full combo, and so they just, and like we were saying, they just usually, like, for example, like super heavy, they would just go Baguska Pass because they can't do anything else. It just completely shuts off their turn. So Dimension Shifter is, I feel like, going to be a very strong hand trap this upcoming format because especially with how many decks are still in the format that want the graveyard to be live for them. Anytime you can use Shifter, it's going to be very, very punishing.
Card in and of itself is a very, like, punishing card for anyone who can't, like, deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is really, I don't know, lingering floodgate cards are, like we mentioned before, like, sometimes they're like a weird necessity, but at the same time they're very unfun to play.
No, absolutely. But I mean, there's a. I mean, I can only think of 2 decks off the top of my head. I mean, possibly 3, I guess, that can kind of play Shifter right now. One being, of course, the elephant in the room, Kashtira, which I personally still believe is going to be a very strong deck in the upcoming format. I don't think Unicorn going to 2 and Arisar going to 1 and Diablosis being banned is going to just stop the deck.
It's not going to do anything.
But otherwise, I think this deck is very, very strong still going into this format, especially because without Gamma, though Gamma was a game-winning card, usually, like, at least for me, every time I actually resolved Gamma, I would win that game. It is a very polarizing card, but it is. I understand the reason why they decided to hit Gamma too. I just feel like, to a degree, I feel like, I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a weird hit because, like I said, with regards to Dimension Shifter, it was just one of the main outs to Dimension Shifter, and now it's gone.
Yeah, it's just, now you don't get to stop D-Shifter.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I mean, Vivek, out of curiosity, what do you think? There's any decks that you feel are like winners or losers in this list specifically?
Winners or losers in this list? Let me pull up one of those tier lists that I was looking at because some streamers made their tier lists. I found some of them to be objectionable. Well, I mean, I guess Labyrinth would be like the biggest winner probably.
Oh,
overall.
yeah.
Labyrinth's going to be
They didn't
really
hit the deck
strong.
at all, and
It's
as far as
They
D-Ship
ran
is
away
concerned, it
scot-free.
doesn't get hit as hard as other decks, and sometimes they even play it on the side deck because they can.
I mean, Shifter can hurt versus Lab if it's fired at the
They
right
can,
time, but they usually
Yeah.
don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, sometimes they even side deck it.
Yeah,
which is
no, very
cringe.
true.
But yeah, so Labyrinth is probably the biggest winner. Yeah, Cash is probably still going to be fine. It might still be the best deck, honestly. Sprite did not get hit nearly enough. Like, I think at this point, what I've been saying is that it might need the tier treatment. Like, they might have to take it out back, you know, and get rid of
Give
Sprite.
it
I'm just sick of
give
seeing
it
the
the
deck.
tier lament special.
We've seen enough of the deck. Like, it is
We're just tired of it. Get it out of here.
boring too.
very true.
Get it out of here.
What about you, Forbes? Any winners or losers that you can?
Winner is just Lab. Lab just wins. Cash just tripped. And then got back up and kept running. Sprite and
Yeah.
Runic both just tripped and got back up and kept running. Like,
Yeah.
Super Heavy and Purely literally are like, it's their first race, and the referee, instead of shooting the gun in the air to go, shot both of them in the knees. Instead of just like shooting upwards. It just goes,
Yeah.
That escalated pretty quickly there. But I love that
they barely
analogy.
started. They barely begun. And just like,
No, I
"Are you
love that
ready?
analogy.
Get
It's great.
set. Everyone else just like,
Yeah, everyone's just like, dude, hey, it could have been anyone.
Lab's having a nice slow jog. Cash tripped over a rock, got back up, kept going. Sprite and Runic tripped over 2 rocks, got back up, and kept going. Like, no other deck really
Yeah,
just got
like,
destroyed to the point that Purely and, like, Super Heavy did. It's like,
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, they only got hit one card. Yeah, but those cards are what make the decks work.
I don't know. I mean, because at the same time, like, I will say with regards to Super Heavy and Pearly, yeah, those 2 hits, like, they absolutely suck. Because, like, Delicious Memory,
sure,
there is no actual card in the Pearly deck that actually searches for that card.
Well, the way I found after talking to some players is you run Foolish Burial Goods.
Yes, I was about to get to that. Because you just use that, and then you can just use Lily.
Yeah, because every Purely card is fundamentally a -2. Because you have to discard a card and play the card. Foolish Burial Goods kind of turns it into sort of a -1 in the sense that you just activate it, pitch it from your deck. Your deck's now thinner, which means now your gambling is much more like a hidden name, and they just slowly bring it back and you're fine. Like,
Yeah.
It just makes it that you don't have Plump like as reliably.
Unless you hard make it.
Not great, but you make do. I've seen some players coping and playing Nimble Beaver.
I mean, you don't always need it as long as you can get access to the trap.
Yeah, purely is not bad either, but Plump is
Maybe
like the most
it's time to run
consistent
multiple
way to get everything.
And once they get the new support, I mean...
Oh yeah, no, the new support's
It'll be
insane.
fine.
That's probably why they hit it so soon. Because
Possibly.
honestly, Dune is like right around the corner.
True. Less than a month away, I think, right?
Yeah, honestly, these 2 core sets felt like they were just so close to each other. Didn't really feel much of a gap between them.
Yeah, kind of, huh?
It does feel like Konami's trying to like push Yu-Gi-Oh into a sort of like a new, because it's the anniversary year, right? It's the 25th anniversary. It's got to be big. It's got to be crazy. And I feel like Konami's trying to go out of their way to sort of propel Yu-Gi-Oh toward the next generation of like gameplay. They're trying to either accept I'm not sure if anyone else has noticed, but it feels like a lot of the decks they've been releasing recently lean more towards control, like more back and forth play than just vomit your whole deck on the board. Not counting Super Heavy. Super Heavy literally is vomit your whole deck on the board.
Yeah,
but most of the other
it's not
new
a new
decks,
deck, technically.
it's not a new deck, but it's it's a promoted deck.
I wanted to kind of bounce back to your comment when you were talking about how they're trying to release a lot more control-based decks. Because I will definitely say I can understand that trend, especially with a deck that technically also went unchecked on this ban list. Granted, technically when the ban list dropped, it technically wasn't actually legal to play yet, being Vanquish Soul.
Yes.
That deck is a real deck, and it is basically at full power. That deck is cool.
But like all the other decks in the set also just feel kind of control-y as well. Like it's kind of weird.
No,
Bells is very clearly like a control deck. You set up the one card, let you put it past, and just climb up and eventually tribute their whole board away. And they don't find a way to stop you.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Dino's just Dino.
All right, you guys ready to hear my mad cope of a couple more cards I feel like are going to be really good in this format?
If you say Exorcister, I swear to God.
No, I'm not talking about decks. I'm talking about just cards, individual cards.
Okay.
Yeah, just individual cards. Yeah, and I have a whole reason, dude. I have a spreadsheet, bro. I came prepared.
Okay.
All right,
we've got the goo. Okay.
What are you coping on?
All right. Well, for next one, honestly, because I would like to say that I still feel like with how this format is, we're probably going to be set in a. I'm going to guess we're still going to be in a pretty prevalent hand trap format.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think that's changing. So Talon's easily going to be a very strong card this format.
Talon's is
still.
Sure. That's not cope. That's just true.
That's just kind of
Yeah,
factual,
it's true. Well, because I mean, I'm only kind of mentioning this because because there have been formats like honestly, Photon Hypernova format, like Tactics wasn't amazing just because it was more of a board breaker format, not a hand trap format.
Tactics was amazing purely because you go against Rise Heart, and both Rise Heart and
go second with
Hero were mandatory.
Yeah,
in combination with Thrust, it was good.
You also force your opponent to activate effects with Tactics before they want to. Because if they Rise Heart and you Tactics, they're going to activate Lens, but you can still take something else because Tactics doesn't target you.
True. No, very true.
The card's been good. Like it's what won me so many games at the YCS. I just blind second, activate Tactics, whatever you use. I just take it. Or I just look at your hand, gain info. Like the card's good.
That's a big one for me at least. Is with regards to since we now have a pointer band, it's like one of the only cards we have now in the game that just lets you just look at your opponent's hand.
Yeah, but you can't really do it when they're going first or when you went first, unless they try to ash you. Then you just okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they hand trap you, it's like they're basically playing two cards.
Yeah.
You know? And it doesn't really matter where you go around it. Even if your deck is like, a 1-card combo kind of deck, it still just doesn't feel good knowing that your opponent basically knows what you have now. It just doesn't ever feel good. Ever. Yeah, I might not know what you're going to top deck, but, like, is it really going to change a whole hell of a lot when I know you have, like, this hand trap, and, like, this one starter? Like, I don't know.
I'm looking forward to playing decks that can actually play spells and traps, so I can play Tactics again.
I can finally play counter traps.
Finally play spells and traps.
Great format. I will actually.
Here's where the mad Oh no, it's all good. I was just about to get to the start of the mad coping.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a level. I feel like this is like level 7.
Oh god.
Like of cope.
What is it?
A card. Okay, honestly, again, I'll just say the card. It's Sakitama. I think Sakitama is going to be a really good card for this upcoming format, and I have my reasons why.
Okay.
I think it's actually really good. A good card moving forward in a handful of these decks that are in the metagame. One that I can honestly think of, basically right off the top of my head, basically is Mathmech. That hit the circular was big, and that was kind of something I want to talk about. Circular being hit is it's inconvenient, but it's not like
it's not.
It is not. It doesn't kill the deck, right? Because they have a lot of ways to get to it, but one of the ways that they can get to it is Alimbertion, which Sakitama can technically allow them to get into, as long as they can basically have any other level 4 that they normal summon into. They just go Sakitama effect, reveal it, normal summon it. Now they got 2 4s. Overlay, search for circular. Done.
It's better than addition and subtraction because you don't have to have anything on field. And
it's a free body. You could also.
That's not cope. It's a good card. It is a good card. It's the only actually like free level 4 that with no conditions attached to it.
You can also Aratama search a Mono Awano, Sakitama reveal a Mono Awano, normal summon a Mono Awano.
Yeah,
we're not going into this right now, okay?
Is that the most cope card you have on that list, or is there more?
Oh no, we got one more.
Oh no! All right,
this one
10.
is actually. This one's a 10.
Oh, okay. All right.
This one is an actual 10.
10
I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to try this card out. I was thinking about it. I was cooking, bro.
Oh, boy.
I got. Where is she? Here we go. We got my cooking pillow, man. But we were cooking. God. We were cooking hard, bro. I'm telling you. So the card we were cooking with is a fairly old trap card known as Xyz Reborn.
Oh no.
Xyz Reborn?
You're running that?
Yes. Okay. So it literally is just a trap card that's a monster reborn for Xyz monsters, and then it attaches itself to that monster as material. That's all it does.
Okay.
One of the most popular Xyz monsters right now in almost every deck is Baguska. If they're out, yeah, tribute Baguska, and if they get rid of the Baguska, you could just literally use Xyz Reborn, bring it back in defense mode, and you basically just turned off your opponent's turn.
That sounds pretty good to me. Is that really the best card to bring it back? Is there not a better card to do that?
I mean, this one gives it a material.
Yeah, it gives itself a material, so then on your standby phase, it just detaches the Xyz Reborn, and it stays on your board. And then you can attack it, and if you really want to, I guess, like...
You just have an extra turn. You buy yourself an extra turn, essentially.
Basically, yeah. But, I mean... but the biggest one, which I'm surprised, I'm surprised you guys ever made this connection. Arise-Heart's worst enemy is a Kaiju, because it puts it in the graveyard, and we can't get it back with Birth. But you know what we can get it back with?
Oh my
Xyz Reborn.
Oh my god.
Bro, imagine how stupid you would feel after Kaiju using your Kaiju on your opponent's Arise-Heart, just on resolution of that, just on summon of the Kaiju, they just flip an Xyz Reborn and just bring it right back. Nice Kaiju, you idiot.
But now it doesn't have all the materials, thus I'm no longer scared of it.
Well, I mean, whenever I played it, there was a lot of times where I'd play it where I'd only use just like the one Rise Heart, and it would only have the one material. But regardless, it can regenerate its own materials, and you just gave it one free one. How is that bad? Also, you put the macro on the board. The macro is the part that hurts the deck way more, the macro part hurts other decks a lot more than having the materials that just have the one interruption. But yeah, I actually want. Yeah, so as a cash player, I actually wanted to try it out because you know how funny it would be. I set up my board, like go like Shangri Era, and then do the one Arise Heart, and then they're just like, oh, I'm gonna kaiju your Arise Heart. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm just gonna use Xyz Reborn, flip that up, bring it back.
Man. First
Right,
Spellbound,
you
now
do that.
Xyz Reborn.
Dude, I'm telling you,
This man is cooking.
dude, it's gonna work. I'm telling you, because when you think about it like this too, like I can also use it because one thing I was also saying is, you know, something happens to Shangri Era. Shangri Era goes away, cool. And during my opponent's end phase, just Xyz Reborn, bring back the Shangri Era, attach the material to it. During my standby phase, get a unicorn, use unicorn effect, and just go full combo.
Oh man, this man is making some cope chowder over here.
Hey, you know, I haven't. It's in theory.
He's put
It's
a
sounding
heaping
great.
helping of chili powder in it to make it spicy, but
I mean, I'm okay because all I'm saying is, with regards to cash setting back row, it should not be a surprise. Like they've done it before, they still do it. Yeah, and you know, I especially with the regards to how the resources go, because what the thing is, I know people are like, oh, we just have preparations now. Problem is, if your riser gets kaiju'd, or curry card or whatever, it doesn't get banished. It goes to the graveyard, and preparations can only summon from banish in hand. Well, you're never gonna have a rise art in your hand. That is literally illegal, and you are never gonna. And it's not very, unless you have like essentially D shifter, or if you're going against the mirror match, and for whatever reason, it's they basically they actually banish it face up. Like it's never gonna get banished. And even if honestly in that situation, if for whatever reason you're doing the mirror match and they somehow like say they kaiju over your Arise Heart, and while they have theirs face up, as soon as he gets banished, they're just going to attach it. So that's why I'm kind of like, the preparations isn't like that incredible, because you kind of have to go through extra steps to get it banished. And so I feel like, and you can't get it back with Birth, because Birth cannot bring back Xyz monsters. So having it in the graveyard is really, really inconvenient. The only other way I originally thought after I saw the list was like, if you have Omega attached underneath it, when the Omega drops to the graveyard with the Arise Heart, you just use the Omega and put the Rise Heart back in the extra.
Monster Reborn.
Right? Yeah, basically. You know, something like that too. But that's why I'm just like, with regards to the Xyz Reborn, you could honestly probably even run something just like back to the front. The only difference though is back to the front doesn't attach a material to, well, I guess when it gets banished on resolution, I guess you get a material.
You get a material regardless. So.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. But I mean, yeah, those are like, with regards to those cards, you can run stuff like that in cash, and I feel like it would make the Arise Heart like worthwhile. But yeah, it's just that I just thought that was kind of an interesting interaction that I was thinking about, because I was like, oh, cool, you know, you attach the Xyz Reborn to an Xyz monster, so depending on like the type of deck and stuff, it can technically, the Xyz Reborn can actually be kind of useful or in certain given situations. But yeah, I don't know. That, like I said, that was like my level 10 cope, but. I don't know. I like I said, I'm cooking over here. I'm trying to keep cash alive, man.
The deck's already alive.
We need it to be more alive.
Oh my lord!
You just look like you're jumping for joy over there, Vivek. You just
Can't wait to tribute some Invenity's Ruler.
Oh, you
That's my idea for the format.
Can't wait to flip Master Restrict because I'm tired of seeing Vanity's Ruler.
My God, my guy, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I haven't been keeping up with the new releases as much.
There's a
or
lot
the
of new
upcoming
stuff,
sets.
though,
I
man. It's pretty
need to check that out.
Can't wait to see
Oh,
10
it's
Dino
honestly
players.
we've got like, it's, imagine it being a window, Vivek, and it's just opening wider, and you're able to see so much more. Like, you could just see so clearly now.
There's
because
more
All I
the
see
rain
is D.
gone.
All I see is D shifter. I'm looking.
We look out the window, it's like beautiful, and Vivek opens the window, just D-shifter like T-posing in front of it, you're just like...
Just a D shifter jump scare, just 100%.
It's just... his hand just goes out, just grabs from Vivek, you're like, oh.
Tell you what, I'm not just gonna flip. I'm not just gonna tribute some Invenity's Ruler. I might flip Skill Drain instead. Okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, overall though, I think there will be a lot more rogue representation from the first few months of this format. Just because there's so much to play with. There's a lot to play with.
Yeah, I kind of hope so. That would be nice, because Rogue hasn't really been able to do a whole hell of a lot. So it would be nice to kind of have change scenery a bit.
I do hope that Konami's design philosophy for these next few seasons, at least, is to encourage more creative deck building. Because the last few seasons have been, I'm calling them seasons, but that's what they're referred to on for the competitions and stuff. Last few seasons have very much been, this is the best build, you have to play this build. There's like no spicy tech, there's no funny build. There's very rarely you see something come out of the woodwork that actually does well. It's usually like the same 3 decks. So I'm a little tired of that. It's still going to happen, of course, but from Konami's design standpoint recently, it does seem like they're trying to create more competent, like, rogue decks. So
yeah,
hopefully this continues. It's a fun trend. I hope the God it keeps happening because it just
Can't be worse than
play
this
fun
format,
stuff.
or than this last format.
This last format was just kind of messy, honestly. It was just everything.
I don't know. Granted, I had a good time. I don't know. I like hand trap formats though. I prefer hand trap formats over board breaker formats. But
I prefer
that's
board
my
breaker. I prefer
So,
board breaker when it's not you have 50 negates and have to somehow figure out how to break through every single negate, which is what this previous format kind of was.
Yeah, well, but I mean, I don't know. We could talk about older formats or probably another time, but I mean, I don't know. I feel that we kind of covered everything that we need to cover here, at least. So, looking forward to this next new format. I'm looking forward to hearing all of your ideas or how excited you are for this format. Please comment in the video below and let us know what your thoughts are. What are you excited for on the new format, and what cards do you think are going to be very strong in the upcoming format? So yeah, just go ahead and comment in the video below. Don't forget to smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you can see more Yu-Gi-Oh content from Team Piporibo, and so you can also get first look and first peeks. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Otherwise, though, this is Team Piporibo signing off. Take care. Peace.